Happy New Year, everyone. It's First Alert 7's Isabella Garriga. I'm joined here today with State Representative Brooks LANGRAF. Happy 2026.
Happy New Year to you too, Isabella.
I know, this is crazy. I cannot believe it's already 2026. But of course, I want to start with a legislative recap. That's most of the times that we see you is at the Capitol when you're representing us. How would you summarize the 2025 legislative session overall?
This year, 2025 was particularly busy because we had our regular legislative session from January until early June, but then the governor called us back for a couple of overtimes, special sessions to address some other very important issues. So all said, we were in session until September of this year, which is a little bit longer than usual, but there was a lot of work to be done. And I would say the biggest single issue, now we dealt with hundreds, but I would say education was the big issue of 2025 during the legislative session, primarily by increasing public education funding by $8.5 billion, which includes $4.4 billion worth of teacher pay raises, which were desperately needed, not only here in the Permian Basin, but across the state. So very proud of that work. We also provided school choice opportunities that didn't previously exist. A lot of controversy around that issue, but that did take up a lot of the oxygen at the Capitol. But education was definitely the big focus.
Kids are the future, and so it matters what's put in, that comes back out.
Yeah, and as we know, investing in the future of Texas is always worth it.
Exactly.
I'm still on a mission to scrap STAR. I think we took some chunks out of it in 2025, but there's more work to do.
Just got to keep moving up. And I'm kind of skipping down, but do you think that's something that you're hoping to revisit in the next session, 2027? Crazy to say that we're not even in 2026, but do you think that's something you want to revisit and push more on?
It absolutely is, and that's one thing that I'm going to be on a mission, and I've got a couple of other bills where we've had success getting them passed in the House, not in the Senate, but as long as my fellow West Texans keep sending me back to the Capitol, that is definitely one of the issues that I'm going to fight for until we get it across the finish line, because I think it's that important.
Perfect. Completely agree.
Yep.
Talking about what Texans will see next, are we going to see anything maybe from previous sessions that will be implemented here in 2026?
Well, you know, we do have several different effective dates. So when we're in session in the first part of the year, most of the laws don't take effect until at least September 1st, sometimes January 1st. So there are a number of laws that will be taking effect here on the new year. I think the biggest one is one that we had help from Texas voters to fully pass in November, and that is property tax relief in the form of increasing homestead exemptions. Now, we have two categories of homestead exemptions. For those who are over 65, they're going to actually see an increase from $140,000 to $200,000, meaning that the first $200,000 of the value of their home is going to be off the books in terms of being taxed by school districts, which are the largest taxing entity everywhere in Texas. For those of us who are under 65, there's still some help along the way. Currently, the homestead exemption is $100,000 per year. This would be increased, or it will be increased to $140,000 starting here on January 1st. So that means that property taxes are going to be lower than they otherwise would be without the homestead exemptions. I do believe that we need to have a different approach to providing property tax relief. The state of Texas doesn't levy or collect property taxes. We don't set them. That's all done by local governments. But I do think that we have some room to make improvements in the way that we're appraising property values. And I think we can do more to limit the growth by placing some restrictions on skyrocketing appraisals, because it doesn't matter what the rate is. If your valuations continue to go up, you're never going to see property tax relief. So I think that's where we can take a really big bite out of that apple. But we still have these modest reforms that are going to allow Texans to keep more money in their pocket.
Beyond the Capitol, you're not just a state representative. Who would you say you are outside of the Capitol? What are you doing after this?
Well, so first and foremost, I'm a husband and a father, and I can't be a good state representative unless I'm doing a good job in my own house. So the LANGRAF house has always got to be more important than the Texas house, I do try to keep focused on the fact that being a state representative is very important, but it's never more important than my faith or my family. And so I always try to make sure that I'm keeping those priorities straight. But it is a very important job. The other thing that a lot of people don't know is that a state representative in Texas makes a grand total of $600 a month. So it's supposed to be a part-time job. Now it ends up taking up a lot more time than that, especially if you're doing it right. And I take a lot of pride in doing doing it right, but I still have to pay the bills somehow, and $600 a month isn't going to get me there. So I do practice law here in Odessa as kind of my primary way of making a living. And I'm also in the ranching business along with the rest of my family, where we raise Black Angus cattle, and that takes up a little bit of time. Also doesn't make very much money, but I am very passionate about our ranching business. So I do have to do those things to make a living. But I don't ever complain about it, because I do think it makes me a better state representative to be in the school pickup line taking care of my children, but also having to make a living here in West Texas the way that all of my constituents do. I think it keeps me in touch with them, because I'm having to face the same struggles that they're having to. I have to make sure that I'm knowing how to make ends meet the way that my constituents do. And so at the end of the day, I think it keeps me more plugged into this community, because I'm part of it. I'm not down in Austin all the time, and that's not how I make my living. So I think it is actually a pretty good model. I think it brings out the best in me as a lawmaker.
Perfect. Talking on how you balance all of that. I mean, we see your family at all the events that you're at, so they're involved in that life as well, but how do you balance all of those things?
Well, to be very candid, it's tough to balance it, because, you can always have competing demands on your time. But I will say this: I got some really good advice from former Congressman Mike Conaway, who served us in the U.S. House, grew up here in Odessa. And when I first ran for office, he said, you never want to just show up when it's time to ask people for their votes. Find a level where you can be involved in the community, be accessible to your constituents, and just keep that consistently and maintain that. And so I've always tried to maintain that baseline of accessibility and presence in the community, while also making sure that I'm meeting my other family and financial obligations as well. But sometimes there aren't enough hours in the day, but I think that's a problem that everybody here in West Texas has sometimes. So it's no different for me than anybody else.
Great. All right, well, perfect. My last question for you: do you have any specific New Year resolution, maybe one, maybe two, that you just hope to do in 2026? Well,
I do have a list, pretty long list of New Year's resolutions, but I think the one that's at the top is just to be more, to have more gratitude in my heart. I've been abundantly blessed by the Lord, and I just want to make sure that I am not only grateful, have that gratitude in my heart, but that I also can express how thankful that I am for the blessings that I have.
That is beautiful. Mine was to work out more, but I like yours better. I think that I should work to reword mine a little bit.
Don't worry, mine's on there. That's on my list too.
I think everyone has a bit of a list when it comes to New Year's resolutions. Some make it, some don't. But I guess we'll see. And thank you for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. Again, this is for our New Year's special, and happy 2026. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you.
Happy New Year, everybody.